Mark, you're a Middlesex boy through and through. You've played at all age groups for the club as well. So what was it like to join the team with so many big names in it?
Oh, it was a thrill, an absolute thrill, because from an early age I'd seen Middlesex play on the TV in finals and winning championships, and to come through the schoolboy level was, you know, a great thing to do. I received so much good coaching through the schoolboys. So then to finally come to Lords, and I remember walking over to the nursery and joining in the warm-up in 1987, and I looked around and there was Test players everywhere, you know, very household names. Captain of England, Mike Gatting at the time. So a big thrill to join that company.
You mentioned about coming through school. What were you doing, if anything, differently to others in your peer group that made you stand out as such an exceptional talent at the time?
Well, I think I just had a passion for the game and a sort of a desire to do well. You know, I really enjoyed the game. I enjoyed batting and making runs, and I had a very fierce desire to do that. And I think you do need that if you're going to sort of rise to the top, if you like.
Just 16 you were when you made your second 11 championship debut for Middlesex. How did you find life in the seconds at such a young age, playing alongside so many other more experienced players?
Yeah, I don't think I found it that easy because there was an age gap. Most of the second team players were perhaps 19, 20 years old. They had obviously played a few games. They knew what life was like on the county staff, whereas I was pretty naive and didn't really have much of a clue. So when I made my second team debut, it was a real eye-opener.
But you learned pretty quickly, because you didn't have long to wait for your first class debut, which came just a year later. How did you prepare yourself for the step up in standard, and how did it feel when you stepped out at Lords for Middlesex at the age of only 17?
Well, I was lucky because I progressed up the age groups quite quickly, and I went on a Young England tour to Sri Lanka, and when I came back I signed for Middlesex in 1987, and I came to pre-season. I practiced with the guys in the nets, and that was my preparation, if you like. I don't think anyone expected me to make my first team debut that soon, but there was a series of injuries to senior batsmen, and I had got some runs in pre-season and was pushed in there, and it all happened so quick. I really didn't have a lot of time to think about it, to be honest. But I remember coming into the dressing room here, was put next to John Embry to change next to the senior pro there, and he looked after me.
You always did a good job, because not long after that, the 1988 NatWest final, a man of the match award, scoring a 50 in a low scoring game as a youngster, to prove almost that youngsters could achieve anything.
Yeah, a great day for me in my life, really. I was told quite late, just before the toss, Mike Gatting came over and said, look, you're in, because I hadn't played in any of the previous rounds, so I wasn't expecting particularly to play. But again, I sort of approached that occasion really with a naivety. I didn't realise how important an occasion it was, really, and the prestige of it. So I went in to play a cricket match, playing against a very good team in Worcestershire, with a lot of good players, a full house at Lords. It was a fantastic occasion. I think luckily we fielded first, which kind of allowed me to settle in. And then when it came to our batting, it was a bit of a not a great start from Middlesex, and we had a flurry of wickets, and all of a sudden I was out there. I didn't have too much time to think about it.
So that's probably a good thing that you weren't sitting around for ages, taking the mind away from it a bit?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
You scored 19 first-class hundreds at Lords. That's to date, you should add. So you obviously enjoy playing here? Yes,
I do, without doubt. I think there is a tendency, if you stay here for a period of time, that you can take it for granted. It's obviously the home of cricket. It's the #1 ground in the country and possibly the world. As a player, to play here is an absolute privilege. Obviously there's all the history and tradition here as well, and you're made very much aware of that, you know, everywhere in the ground, the pavilion, in the dressing rooms, the names that have played here and done well here. So yeah, it's an absolute privilege to be part of that.
So it's looking back at previous stars, previous big names who've played here that really inspired you?
Yeah, without doubt. I think, you know, if you want to achieve something in first-class cricket, Lords is the place to do it, without doubt. And so many great players down the years have achieved success here, and they really cherish that because they look upon Lords as the home of cricket.
What's your greatest memory of playing for Middlesex?
Well, so many great memories, I'm happy to say. Won trophies early on in my career, and was lucky enough to have lots of individual performances that I look back on and cherish. But I suppose we have to go right back to the NatWest final, that 1988 match, which was just a dream come true, really, to not only be selected, but then be lucky enough to do well in the context of the game. And you know, I have so many memories about that game, and being on the balcony here with Mike Gatting, and he received a trophy, and Jeff Boycott gave me the man of the match. So yeah, that's probably the best memory for me.
You mentioned Mike Gatting. You played a lot of your Middlesex career under him. Did you learn a lot from him in terms of his captaincy techniques?
I learned so much from Mike in many, many different ways. Certainly, he was England captain when I joined the club as a 17-year-old, and he loved to talk cricket, and it was like a sponge as a young player. You looked to your senior players, and they were all very happy to talk cricket, and we often did, and we often had great conversations, and you learn so much in that regard. And then also to play with him out in the middle was so important, to bat out there with him and watch how he went about his business. In terms of his captaincy, he backed me to the hilt. You know, early in my career, I made lots of silly mistakes, but he persevered with me and always had faith in me, and that was so important.
After 20 years of brilliant Gatting, you then took on the captaincy yourself. How proud were you to captain this great club?
I was enormously proud. That was a fantastic moment for me, and I really was desperate to try and carry on the success that Middlesex had had in the late 70s and throughout the 80s and early 90s. You know, it was I suppose it was something comparable with Liverpool Football Club's success, and you know, I really wanted Middlesex to continue those winning ways.
You ultimately chose to leave to go across town in the year 2000 to join Surrey. How would you say the two clubs differ, and what makes Middlesex different to other clubs in your experience?
Well, I think, as I said, when I watched Middlesex on the TV as a 6-7-year-old, watched exciting players like Roland Butcher, you know, Clive Radley, Norman Cowans. They had exceptional talent within the side. And for me, it was great to watch that team, and then to come through the Colts and represent Middlesex. That was so important. I think they played an exciting form of the game that people enjoyed watching. You know, to go on and play 14 years at the club here at Lords, and Middlesex, I think that although Middlesex kind of are tenants, if you like, at Lords, the club has made it their ground through the players winning titles, winning trophies here at Lords. And so, you know, they've sort of made it their ground, if you like, and that's so important.
You've been a first-class cricketer now for just about a quarter of a century. And the game has changed so much in that time, in those 25 years or so. So you must have plenty of advice to offer those kids trying to make it today.
Well, only simple advice, really. You know, you look upon your own experiences and how I've played the game for a long time, and that's because I think I've enjoyed the game. And if you really enjoy the game, then, you know, all the training and the preparation is not something that you look upon as arduous or, you know, something that's so difficult. You enjoy those facets of the game because you hope that it will all go forward to your performance and excelling out in the middle, and that's, you know, that is enjoyable, winning.
Well, Mark, we really appreciate your time. Thanks very much.
Thanks a lot.